Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer. Welcome back to Draft Day Sports College Basketball 2022. This is episode number 15. We are in between seasons 2 and 3. Season 3 is going to go by really quickly because we have that limited schedule for the second season in a row, even though we finished tied second last season. Of course, as I'm sure you know by now, as you've learned over the last few episodes, if you've been not just skipping the entirety of it, it came down to our RPI, our ranking. And our ranking in the final days of the season, which was impacted not by anything we had done, but impacted by the strength of schedule and how that fluctuates throughout the year, saw us slip from third place to fifth place in the final days of the season, even though none of our teams were playing. And that fifth place kept us in that same zone. It kept us in the independent league for another year. Now, hopefully this year we've got a team that's actually looking capable compared to the past couple of seasons. We'll see how capable as time goes on, but I do think we might be able to grab some more wins than last year, have a better net ranking, and see us climb back into Conference V. But that is going to lead to a quick season as we're going to have fewer games. And realistically, as we still build for the future, I think I'm going to have some quick seasons in general, even after we get back to Conference V for a little while we start building things up. We have a few things to check in on, but before we do that, let's start here from this screen, which is our recruitment screen. And of course, early on, this is going to be the big feature. Recruiting. Oh wait, not early on. The entirety of this series, this is going to be the big feature. College sports in general play so much into recruitment. It's huge. It is absolutely huge. Well, anyway, taking a slightly different approach with the recruitment this year. But by slightly, I mean a little more broad look early on. I've got a few more targets. There's two reasons for it. One, there just happens to be more Oregon athletes on the list this year than in past years. So I have a call list of 19 players. Also, I have 10 players with some amount of interest. That's a factor. 7 of those are 1-star and just a few 2-stars, so it's not like it's great talent or anything. But as we continue to develop, maybe we'll actually make some progress. Maybe? I don't know. Well, anyway, how that all kind of shakes out. The big thing here is that 18 of 19 are the entirety of the Oregon list. So I've got them out there. We'll look into like this Darius Q 4-star talent. He's not going to come play for us, okay? He's not. I know that. I'm not going to spend significant time on him. But that doesn't mean we're not going to watch film, scout him live a few times. Maybe he's the benchmark, right, that you compare everybody else to. I don't know. There's development of skills that needs to happen. And why not watch all range of players instead of just going and seeing players who aren't good? Where's your comparison? What's your basis to know that they're not good? Right? You've got to see both ends. There's not really much to that when it comes to a game, but you know, that's my approach anyway. Quick update on where I stand as a coach now after 2 seasons. Scouting, for whatever reason, is still locked in at 1, even though I do so much of it. I don't understand why that doesn't build. I think that was the case in the older versions of the game as well, that the scouting just does not develop, which is odd because I spend so much time watching film or watching players live. I don't get it. Offense at a 5. Defense at a 7. Player development at a 7. That's going to be an important one as time goes on. As we get better and better at recruiting, seeing player development is going to be essential to see the team grow. I mean, using those red shirts effectively as players develop is going to be important. But with a skill set of 7, you're just as likely to see a player be worse the next year than they were the year before, because you're that poor of a coach, and your training facilities are that poor. You could see that happen. But the one area where we are making good progress has been recruiting, and we're up to a 13 now. Is that enough yet to see us start to make headway with players? I don't know. Very likely it's not, but you keep plugging away at it, and we will get there eventually. And seeing that it's, outpacing everything else on average more than 2-1, that's a good sign that is the one area that we are making a lot of headway and will get there sooner rather than later. So if that's going to be our strongest skill set in a couple years' time, where it's actually having an impact, that's how we start our climb, through recruitment. Go figure. That's what I've been saying all along anyway. And we lack skill in evaluation when our star ratings fluctuate wildly, repeatedly, again and again. It goes from one extreme to another. So upon further evaluation, with a little bit more time since the transfers have been completed, now that we're into late June, this is how we see the players that are on the squad as of right now. And our top 2 guys are the recent transfer and Wesley Samuels, who we seem to have gotten an absolute steal on. He is significantly better than our other options. But then Rodney Wallace, the returning player, the senior now, who has been the team's leader. I'm going to have to find a way to get both of them on the court at pretty much all times. I mean, if one of them is resting, obviously the other one is playing at power forward. But there will be minutes at center, small forward. We'll see which as we get through and break down the roster and create that depth chart. But getting those 2 guys on the court together, and at least one of them, I mean, it looks like we're going to be very strong at power forward for all 40 minutes of every game. Wade Dyer, that's our top guy now. However, even though I was not impressed by him last season, he actually was a pretty big contributor when you started looking at the pie chart, the player impact ratings. Wade Dyer had the highest rating on the team by a small margin. He was our 6th man, and yet he somehow had a slightly bigger impact than everybody else. But with JoJo Hollis as a senior and Wade Dyer as a sophomore, and JoJo Hollis being the main scorer among the first 5, having Wade Dyer off the bench playing alongside the second unit where he dominated, that was something I didn't want to mess up, that dynamic. And it worked for us last season. And Wade Dyer did play fairly solid minutes. This year, he's with that first 5. This year, he's got a different dynamic. Is he better? Yeah, I don't think so necessarily. But defensively, he's okay. He's got some balance overall. I just wish he was a little better, like say passing, his ball handling. Even then, not great for a point guard. He's more suited to being a 2 guard, a shooting guard. Honestly, the outside shooting, right, catch and shoot, seems more attuned to his skill set. But he's our point guard, I guess. But Joey Davis comes in, and he is solid. He's looking good. He should have that starting small forward. And based on all of that, if McIntyre really is as bad as we seem to think he is, which I don't see why that would be the case after he has been so good for the last 2 years, unless he literally has been that player who has gotten worse one year to the next. But I'm kind of guessing that's not necessarily the case. I think McIntyre at the moment is a bit underrated. Maybe between him and a Samuels or Wallace, the three of them can take the bulk of the minutes at the two bigs positions, and Chris Morton really isn't all he's cracked up to be. He might have a good inside shot, but his scoring is literally bare minimum. And so how often are you going to score when you're not a scorer? You're not going to take the shot. We seem to be okay at shooting guard with Corey Moore, who was the other transfer from a year ago, who was the backup there, and he certainly did an okay job, but wasn't great. But then Brent Gross, redshirt sophomore. Now, Tyson DePina, his evaluation has plummeted. A year ago, we thought he was fantastic, where he redshirted. Now we're looking at him after a year going, oh, gosh, he's not good. So which is it? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. We might have to give him some time. True freshman, Jermaine Babel. That was the one recruit we got in this year. Are these more realistic views of these guys, that they're not good enough, that they are the weak one-star players that we went after in recruiting? I don't know. But Kalakatronis, the point guard transfer, who definitely was weaker than the other two, on this evaluation looks to be that way. But after that, you're looking at the old remnants of the team, the guys left over when we took over. Your Lane Holcombs, walk-on Stephen Jennings, Colin Peterson, who we redshirted to back off. These guys are non-factors. Antoine Newton, walk-on, senior. So the bottom end of this group, everything but your McIntyre, Morton, and Wallace, the rest of these guys are all players that we have actually recruited. So the bulk of the team now, the main contributors of the team beginning with this season, are now going to be our guys. The one key holdover, though, is still that Rodney Wallace. So I think with him graduating this year, beginning next season, I think this is going to really start to feel like my team. We'll still have McIntyre come next season, with Morton also graduating this year. We'll still have McIntyre, but McIntyre was somebody that I elected to start and give fairly significant minutes to as a freshman. Even though he wasn't our guy, we didn't bring him in. We've brought him up. And I think that will make it feel, even though he'll be, still with us in that last holdover, I think that'll make it feel like he's our guy. And I think already at this point, McIntyre feels like my guy as we've brought him up the last couple of years. One key attribute that I care a lot about, that has been a struggle for us early on in this playthrough, is getting guys in that can actually defend. That's been hard. It's been really hard. We're getting better. A year ago, we had like 2 or 3 guys just above 20. Now we have 6. And we have, 3 of them at 24 plus. It's progress. It's progress. In fact, I have 5 guys that are a 23 to 25. That's not good. Okay. Our defense is going to be like 2% better than it was the year before. But if that means you're stopping 1 score a night, taking 2 points away from your opposition every night, that's going to have an impact. That's going to have an impact on your season. It's going to make a difference. Scoring wise, I think we've really still got ourselves in a position where we're a little bit in trouble in that. regards. I mean, we've got a lot of guys who are just not scorers. Wesley Samuels, though, key man to have on the court. You could see it right there with the high level scoring. Difficulty here is he's not a great scorer, so that's going to be a problem. One of our other best scorers, Rodney Wallace, very similar. A little bit better inside, a little bit worse outside, a little bit less frequent to pull up and take the shot. But hopefully these guys are going to be in a position to get some rebounds. They're decent offensive rebounders. They're going to get putbacks. Okay, that's pretty okay. Wade Dyer, one of his greater strengths is that he's going to take that outside shot. So between whether he dribble drives and then kicks, whether he finds, the man inside open, or whether he's going to pull up and take the shot, that's going to help draw that defense out to him a little bit maybe, and allow him to make that drive and feed his power duo inside, and maybe they can get some easy finishes, because they're going to need easy finishes, otherwise they're going to miss a lot of shots. So there's still some worrying signs about this roster, but again, my evaluations are crap. We have no idea what the reality is. It varies wildly, and we're just going to have to keep an eye on the players and how they actually perform once they start playing to really know if we need to make adjustments or not. And it's hard to take a small sample size of a handful of games and use that as your basis, because we have such a short season as we're independent. There's some complications here, so wish me luck on that part. But let's go ahead and start getting into things, push things along. Of course, I'm going to have recruitment going on for quite a while. A lot to do. It's only been 2 weeks, but here's a very quick update on how recruitment has gone so far. And of course, one aspect of it is getting information, and that information allows you to pitch things better. Essentially, that's all it does, right? Starting with the guys that are cool on us, the main thing I need to know is location, because they're all from either Oregon or Washington. They're all close. If they don't care about location, there's a good chance they're not going to be interested in coming to our school. So we need them to care about location, right? You know this. I need to know that they care about it. So my objective early on is to build that pool of information, get that knowledge. Well, first year we had, 2 successes, 3 successes the entire season in finding that information. Last year it was better, but only marginally so. We had maybe 6 successes over the course of the season. We are 2 weeks into recruitment right now. I have had 4 successes, as in the first 4 guys on my list. I already know about how much they care about location for all of the first 4 in just 2 weeks. Now, that doesn't mean I'm at the point yet where I'm going to actually break through and have one of these other guys give me 5 minutes of their time and get them up to cool as well. But it does mean that we are clearly, noticeably better in our success rate, at least for the basics, than we were previously. And maybe it's going to be enough to break that threshold and get us over the top and get some of these other guys to actually start talking to us. It might take the entire season, but we'll give that a shot. Once we've got that information, that basic information about location on the whole set of guys that, are semi-interested in coming to our school. But if the first 2 weeks have been any indication, it should not take long to get the entire set. I mean, at this rate, maybe 3 weeks more, and we'll have the entire group down on location, which is awesome. I mean, that is massive compared to where we've been for the last 2 years. In the end, my chances of recruiting him are going to be, like 1%, if that. But massive news. For one thing, I've only gone forward another week. but I've got that number from 4 guys that I got info on up to 7. And then, whether it was my assistant coach, I don't know how it came about, but the number 1 guy on my list, the top recruit in the state, the 4-star projected player, he's now cool on us. So we have made progress with the top recruit in the state. So either my assistant coach is developing as well and he is getting somewhere where we're actually getting something. I don't know. I don't know what the case is, but yeah, we are now cool on the best player on the list. Huge, huge thing for us, even though, like I said, and he's not going to come play for us. Okay, it's not going to happen. We're not at that stage yet. Later on, we will start stealing this kind of player, but we're not there yet. But why not? We have 4 of these to throw around. We're going to throw our first scholarship straight into this guy. We're going to scout him live. We're going to do all of the above. We're not going to host him, though, because I'm not stupid. We're not going to give that away. But we will give him a call and pitch school location. And, this is how we get the job done. Look at that. There you go. There's a success with him as well, and playing close to home is important. Honestly, it's a minor thing, okay? But it just feels so good. Feels so good to have made progress, to see the progress that we have made as a coach, right? Like you said, first season, 3 successes the entire year. I'm 4 weeks into recruiting, and all 10 of the original plus Darius Q, so 11 guys. I've got the info regarding location. It's only 1. There's other things, but that's our one angle that we can recruit on. I know that info on all 11. That means I've had 11 successes in just 4 weeks. That is just incredible. I mean, it's hard to fathom how much progress we've made in that department in just a couple of years. It was like when I went into meetings with players that first year, I spoke gibberish. Now, apparently I speak the language. And we're into that moment of truth time where the contact period has begun. So, Darius Q, we are after him. We've got a decent amount of information about him. He would be an absolute legend, at least early series legend, if we were able to sign him. In fact, I'd probably expect him to do a year or 2 and then transfer to a bigger school, because it would be quite the steal to get him. Not expecting him to come, but you got to try once that doorway's opened. Then after that, we're looking at Myron Hammond. I'm always desperate for a point guard. Always. A good one especially could make such a huge difference to a program such as ours. So even though he's not interested, I'm trying to go after John Calloway. And then Lou Pauli, who was a 2-star guy, has slipped to a 1-star guy. But, we're looking at guys inside the top 1,000 in terms of where they're at in the rankings. Any of them would be a pretty big deal for us. All right, so Lou Pauli, not interested. It looks like we're going to lose what we had with him. Callaway, not interested. Hammond. Okay, Myron Hammond was impressed. That could be huge for us if we continue on with Hammond. We'll find out pretty soon. That could be our one and only recruit this year. Darius Q was impressed. Wow. Could we potentially be getting ourselves a 4-star recruit? Temper those expectations a little bit, but because there very well could be other schools very active on him as well, and he could have been impressed by them too. So yes, sure, great. We went from non-existent to we're climbing up his list. But if we're only 5th or 6th after a couple weeks here, he very well could be going to Gonzaga or Washington State or literally anywhere. Anywhere. besides us is going to be more appealing if they are aggressively, actively recruiting him. So, my 1% chance, though, I feel like it's gone up to like 5% by this point, though. So, it's something. It's something. Recognizing that Callaway was not interested to begin with, and even after approaching him, he remains totally uninterested in our school. Why waste the time? We have such a small window when it comes to getting after players. So I will shift one of our visits to Mike Holmes. The reason for going for Mike Holmes is, for one thing, it's a different position, small forward. We're not going after any of those. That's very minor. The bigger thing is this, besides Darius Q, is the best scorer in the state. 17.5 points per game. He's rebounding decently well. He gets a decent amount of steals. I mean, this is a player who is going to be a scorer, and as that is a bit of a struggle for us, not having very many of those capable guys. He's still just outside of the top 1,000. That makes him a pretty strong candidate for someone to get after. So there's the targets for now. Well, and here's some interesting news, too. This is the first time we've gone after a recruit whose parents supposedly attended our school. At least one of them did. Anyway, and that's something that could help us out quite a bit in recruiting this guy, Mike Holmes. And there you go. Also, I get the information on where we stand as a school, as a program. So he's cool on us, but we're not even on his top 10 list. So that's how far down the pecking order we are. But if we have any success with him this week, there's no reason why we wouldn't climb right up that list, especially as a 1-star recruit. There's likely the majority of the schools on the list aren't talking to him. We could be the only one that is. Many years ago, when I first started doing this series in the 2017 edition, I committed myself to never altering the schedule. No matter what popped up, I never changed the schedule. I let the AI do its thing. It gives us what it gives us, and I roll with it. This is going to be a particularly difficult year. We have 3 home games for the entire season, which means there's a great chance that we could be ranked 5th or 6th in terms of the actual record. But if we get some wins along the way, especially if we take care of business with those 3 games at home, if we get some wins on the road along the way, you could see our net ranking actually being a lot higher than some of the other teams. We could be on the opposite end of it, where last season we had a decent record and a low net ranking. Might be better this time around, or maybe not. Either way, I'm perfectly okay if we suffer, if we flounder at the bottom for a little while I develop skills. It is what it is on that part. We will get the ball rolling eventually. We will start climbing that ladder eventually. And if prior additions to this game have been any indication for me, it's going to come via getting really good recruits. It is through that recruiting. It's where I've done well with this game. Tactically, you can't necessarily go wrong with how you play, because tactically there's different ways to play, and all can succeed, all can fail. It depends more on your skill and the skill of your players. No matter what type of tactic you pick, they will execute it as long as you keep a consistent practice plan and they learn it in time. All right, I haven't gotten into the messages yet, but as we remain in our 3rd contact week, I'm seeing some things happen. I am definitely seeing some things happen here. For one, some guys have accepted. We got a couple guys going to Portland State here. There have been some signings. I don't see our name on that list. However, we do see a couple players, including Darius Q, who are warm to us now. Our 5% chance seems to be rising. It does seem to be rising, but where it is, I don't know. Mike Holmes is cool on us. He doesn't hate us. Pauli's gone. He's going to Washington State. Looks like Washington, yes, and Portland State for the others. So fairly local, right? They're going to either Oregon or Washington, all of them. Our list is obviously going to get shorter once we take those guys off the list. But Darius Q, for instance, still around. Okay, Holmes is still cool on us, but he wasn't too impressed, so that was not a good report. Pauli didn't care either, but Myron Hammond, he and his family were impressed. Darius Q, some things that really hit home. Yeah, wow. And we're definitely in the running now. Okay, so here's where we stand with Q now, and this is exactly what I was talking about a little while ago. Now that I know where we stand, it's 5th. So yes, he's warm on us. Yes, he likes us. But yes, he likes 4 schools more than us. It doesn't take much, right? If it's an Oregon or a Washington, he's going to pick them over us if they offer him a scholarship, right? Right now we have that advantage of we've given an offer, but he's the best recruit in the state. There's going to be, right? If that's one of your 50 best players in the country, he might not be top 50, right? I think he's outside of the top 100. Regardless, yeah, national 112. Okay. If he's the 112th best recruit in the nation, though, think about it for a second. Kentucky is going to get 4 of the top 100 recruits in the nation. Gonzaga is going to get a few of the top recruits in the nation. As that filters down, as the most prestigious schools take a huge chunk of the top 100, the next tier is going to get down to that top 300 and collect virtually all of them. Between the top tier and the second tier, they're going to have virtually all of the top 300. So somebody coming in at 112, somebody in that, somebody in that range, that second tier, very prestigious, but not quite. They're going to pick this guy up. And like I said, that's Oregon, Washington. The Washington State, Oregon State would be lucky to get this guy. For us, it's a pipe dream. But we're going to keep that pipe dream alive a little bit longer. Still looking for a point guard, so the 4th man I'm going for this time is Ime Selby. Selby's only a 1-star recruit. He's not great. He's definitely not a very good defender, which is a real problem for me. Also not much of a scorer, though at 11 points a game, in high school, he'll score a little bit. It's not like he's completely incapable of scoring, but he's athletic. He's got a good outside shot, so, he'll make it occasionally anyway. But for me, importantly, good passing, good ball handling. He'll steal the ball a little bit. It's not terrible. It's not terrible. And somehow we're 3rd on his list. And he cares a lot about location. So I think there's actually a pretty decent chance of recruiting Selby. And for us, as that's been a problem area, 1 per year, it'd be nice to get a win. Darius Q, things have gone really well with him yet again. Myron Hammond, for the first time, not impressed. So that talk did not go down terribly well. Mike Holmes, Again, not good. What about Selby? He didn't like it either. So Darius Q, is that going to be the one player we get? That would be an absolute steal if it is. Practice ready to begin. Another Portland State recruit, Washington State, and here's how things stand with Q as we enter the final week of contact for the first portion of the season. We're up to number 3, and we're hot. We're hot. I cannot believe it that this is the guy who is come from nowhere to very interested. We are pushing and pushing and pushing like there is no tomorrow with this guy, and I have a feeling that if he makes a decision for us this week, obviously, we'd have him, but I think if we don't get a decision from him this week in time, others will come in and pick him up. Good news for me, and honestly, this is good news. This is good news for me. He has dropped in the overall rankings by 26 spots, and he has gone from a 4-star recruit down to a 3-star recruit. So he's gone from a low 4 to a high 3, but that's good. That's good. That plays into how we seemingly are overtaking other schools. They're recognizing that he's not quite as good as he appeared to be, and maybe that's why some other schools aren't after him as aggressively as we seem to be right now, giving us a little bit better of a shot. By the way, this is an important factor when it comes to Darius Q. Not only is he big on location for us, where his rating comes in about here, but his parents have total control. They're very strict. Only the one parent, not much wealth, but they care about location too. He's from Portland. We're in Portland. There's 3 schools in Portland. We're one of them. And we're saying the right things to both him and to mom or dad, whichever one it is he lives with. Myron Hammond, after our slip up, is down to 6th on his list. That's a little worrying. Nothing on Selby or Holmes, but Hammond, kind of neutral, kind of positive. And Q, just a little bit positive this time. So we'll see how that impacts things. First week of practice, and we've already had an incident. Samuel's caught up in that one. That's not good. Okay, for Q, the progress has seen us climb all the way to number 2 on his list. But we're beyond the contact period now. And that means we settle in for the long run. We might get him, but I'm very nervous at this point that we're going to see this fade. We're going to see other coaches who are great recruiters spend the coming months talking with this guy, who have great assistants who are good at recruiting, that are going to come in and talk with this guy, and you're going to see us drop down this list. And you're going to see that number 1 school come in and eventually sweep him off his feet and get him to go to their school. So I think our window to get him signed very likely has shut. So that sucks, but it's okay. It's okay. We've come super close, and it's not a 0% chance. There's definitely still a chance. I just don't like our odds. Hammond, the other one we made progress with, and we're still sitting number 6 on his list, so not looking great on that front. And meanwhile, we lost out on Selby, we lost out on Holmes. They didn't care for us too much, and we're down to just 3 guys way down at the bottom of the rankings. So all of our eggs are in the basket of Q and Hammond, hoping that we can get one, if not both of those guys. And then that's probably going to be it on that front. With that, the season is going to be tipping off here really soon. Been playing too much soccer, aka football, world football, here lately. It's okay. It's okay. It's been a little while since I've done a basketball game, ironically, even though it hasn't been that long since I've just finished the boys basketball season recently. Anyway, I'm Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe. Let's try that again. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there. Bye for now.